Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media users found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings. Hi guys, I hope you're all doing well. As you can see, I have done something a little different with my hair. I want your honest opinion on it. It's not pink one side and lilac-y silver the other. It's all one colour. It's because the sun's shining in and making it go. So I suppose outside it would be a combination of this. As you can see, my wrist, I really need my hairdressers to open again, hopefully soon. But yeah, I'm actually thinking of going back to the lilac. Those of you that followed me last year, I did have lilac for a number of months. I think it's quite good in summer, especially like this sort of pinky tinge. But tell me what you think, because you've seen my hair like pink and brown, lilac. I've also been luminous pink, as you guys know, with the original picture that I've got, which is like my icon on my Twitter and my YouTube channel. And yeah, I just wanted to do something different. I was almost tempted to go back dark again, but I thought once it's dark, and then I have to wait to then slowly lighten it. So boring you with my hair stuff. Sorry for all the guys that watch my channel. And anyway, shall I get on with it? Yeah, rabbiting now. So it's been reported again, but it does seem to be a bit more, I don't know whether it's true or not, to be fair, who does these days, but William and Harry have apparently been keeping in touch with low-key Zoom chats, so low-key that it's now been announced to the world. I can only imagine there is a certain someone that's either had the room bugged, she had someone in there, she was stood behind him on the phone call, or had the old-fashioned glass to the wall kind of listening in. But I do hope the story is true. He and William have always had that real kind of tight brotherly relationship, and it would be such a shame to think that it has been completely ruined. Although you can understand if William did decide to be that way with Harry because of the bad treatment, not just the way Harry's treated his brother, but his wife and pretty much the entire royal family. But we'll see what comes out of it. Obviously, we didn't have Trooping of the Colour this year, so we can't actually see them interact, and we don't know how long it will be before we see the princes back together. I hope William is just keeping tabs on his brother, as the newspapers call it, all the rest of us keeping in touch, because it's kind of keeping a door open for Harry. Not in a sense like I don't want to see him come back as a full-time royal. He's, as far as I'm concerned, you're done with that. But as far as he is not alone, he still has his family there for him. Meghan is not his be-all and end-all. She's not his only option. So if he really truly is feeling isolated, then hopefully it can just be that little bit at the back of his brain that he has still got family that love and care about him. So speaking of Zoom chats, someone finally got the Queen on a Zoom chat. Now this is no mean feat. Obviously she had assistants setting her up. It's the first one that she's ever done, so it's actually quite historical. She was speaking to carers, and it must actually be the Queen. The Queen is on Zoom. I mean, it's amazing with all of the other royals, but you imagine having the Queen. I'd totally be recording that personally myself. But whoever it was that actually got the Queen on Zoom, I have to say, well done, because it's something that I wouldn't even attempt to help my own mother with. I love my mother, but there would be a real genuine risk of matricide there. Absolutely, 100%. I remember trying to set her up an email address, and still I get phone calls where she's put her email address into the web browser rather than going to the actual, you know, Hotmail or Yahoo page. So yeah, definitely well done for teaching the older generation how to use modern technology. So over to the Harkles. Well, Harry has been allowed near a computer again. He's apparently written out, Meghan has written out a letter for African Parks. African Parks is a charity that Harry has had quite a lot to do with. It's obviously something very close to his heart. Well, as South Africa used to be for him, I don't know if that's still true, but he and Meghan have written an open sort of letter to them, thanking them for everything that they do. The bit that made the headlines, however, was the fact that Harry has turned around and said that the global bug, obviously I can't say by its real name because the videos don't get out to YouTube still, it's still a banned word, a dirty word. So the global bug, he believes that its origins may be linked to our exploitation of nature. So technically he's saying that we have, you know, the damage that we've caused the planet and whatnot caused the bug to happen. Now, obviously in his statement, there are lots of may, suggest, some evidence, still unknown. It's that whole kind of word salad. As I said, did he write it? Did Meghan write it? But the bee in my bonnet about this the most is Harry again talking about the environment. So I'm going to do an open letter to Prince Harry. Dear Harry, until you stop flying around the world in private jets, even for short journeys, and until you stop demanding such huge security teams, huge armour-plated vehicles, I believe even shipping vehicles to certain countries that you go to, real gas-guzzling, Range Rovers, using helicopters to go get snacks and various other short trips and journeys, until you stop staying in friends' huge 18, 20, 30 million pound mansions when there's 3 of you, multi-billionaire yachts that dump God knows how much pollution into the ocean whilst you're walking barefoot on the beach giving speeches. No one in their right mind is ever going to take you seriously on anything that you say to do with the environment. That's it. It's plain and simple. It's true though, isn't it, guys? I mean, how can anyone really take Harry seriously with anything to do with the environment anymore? It's just the amount of carbon emissions that this family of, 2.5, you can't count baby Archie's fault in this, but the amount of toxic emissions and pollution that they have put in the atmosphere themselves would easily probably do 20, 30 families over the course of years. It's absolutely crazy to think that anyone is ever going to listen to him. So talking of another thing about taking this couple seriously, the Canadians have had a very, very harsh and cruel reminder of the fact that in the short time that Harry and Meghan stayed in Canada, under the pretense of they wanted to live there, they wanted a private life, they wanted to bring Archie up in the wonderful, glorious nature of Canada, beautiful country, they were using taxpayers' money to stay there. It was obviously kept under wraps initially. The Canadians did not find out about it. Once they did, there was obviously protests and there was a polls and they went to the government. Even the actual Canadian Police Department, but they had said and expressed their concerns that it was costing a ridiculous amount of money. Obviously, Justin Trudeau did step in the end, and as they weren't doing any royal duties, they weren't there on any sort of royal capacity, Commonwealth capacity, they were just having one big holiday plotting and scheming, as we've since learned, that they were no longer going to be paying for them after March. Obviously, as we know, they then hightailed it out, which was their always plan to go to LA, but it still cost the Canadian taxpayers something like 53,000 Canadian dollars. Everywhere they go, they just cost taxpayers money. Now, this gets me onto the wedding. We have had another story come out and it had me spitting feathers for quite some time, but it is something that is well known. It is something I have discussed before. But Omid and Carolyns' book, the Finding Freedom nonsense book that's coming out, that was basically Harry and Meghan have written it and they've put Omid and Carolyns' name on it. We know that they have had involvement in this book, which means that if anything was untrue in this book, they would have it taken out. I believe that the control freak that Meghan seems to be with every project and the way people have described her entire life, she would literally have total control of what goes into this book. So it's very odd, considering they're still in their 12-month probation, that either Omid or Carolyn, the royal source, would admit that MEGXIT was discussed before the wedding, that they never intended to stay. So this has actually been confirmed and it's apparently going to be in that book. So this confirms a lot of suspicions that a few of us had in the initial beginning, people that saw straight through Meghan, where we were still being called nasty, evil, racist trolls. And it turns out that it was actually true. They plotted and planned before the wedding to leave. So I want to know, and I truly, really want to know, why did they insist on having the huge semi-state wedding? It cost as much, if not more, of Catherine and William's wedding, the future king and queen consort. And they demanded basically all of that attention, everything on them. And it was her second wedding, or third. And I'm not saying that a woman should not get married in a dress of her choosing in a church if it is her second wedding. But it's the whole thing that divorcees, they've never been allowed to do it in the royal family before. Camilla and Charles had to do a discreet wedding, but they insisted that they wanted to become full-time working royals. They accepted the titles and they knew the entire time of all those people cheering and clapping that they were always going to leave. So this absolutely infuriates me that 35 million, depending on where you read it, of taxpayers' money went on this huge semi-state wedding for Meghan's ego. This huge, absolute expensive cost of them becoming full-time working royals, the tour of Australia and New Zealand, even Morocco, the clothing budgets, everything that they were allowed as they all of a sudden were full-time working royals, the platforms that she's had, everything. And it was all a swizz from the beginning. But this is the fact that they've admitted it in the book. Why would you do that? Why are they trying to just get Charles and the Queen to turn around and say, right, that's it, you're cut off, so they can then scream, oh, we're victims, we're being attacked by our own families yet again, blah, blah, blah. I really don't get why this was one put in the book, if it is true, which I do believe it to be true. It just seems absolutely mentally exhausting, these two. The fact that people were angry when they left with MEGXIT, but for it to be put into this book and to be released before this book has even come out is just making people hate them more and more and more. It is just unbelievable that this huge expense to the Canadian taxpayers, to the UK taxpayers, and they planned it all from the beginning. But what has really angered everyone is the fact that they expect everybody to pay for them no matter where they go. The only person that went from the offset, and I know that you're not all a massive fan of him, but was Donald Trump. He was the only one to turn around and go, no way, sorry, no, not a chance in hell. And that is, well, I can give him an applause for that one at least. In the short 2 and a bit years of Meghan coming on the scene, the 18 months of them being full-time working royals, there's been secrecy, there's been revenge, there's been rumours of brotherly jealousy, there has been stabbing at the back, apparently presents of knives being given at Christmas. It's all been played out like one big Shakespearean play. And the thing is, we all know that they never end well. I have my moments where I think Harry is a victim in all of this, and maybe this is why Harry has always made the mistakes that he has, because he's not the, sharpest tool in the shed. But then the way that he has treated the people that genuinely cared and loved for him, he grew up with those friends that he mistreated, that he didn't invite to the evening party of his own wedding. He knows better than that. He is a grown man, and so many people still talk about Harry like he is a naive 17-year-old, and he's not. And as for people calling them a young couple, they're not. There's no excuses for their behaviour, and I just can't believe how much they were given in such a short space of time, and they have pretty much just outed themselves in this book, or Omid has, and turned around and said it was always the plan from the beginning. Talk about wanting people to throw rotten tomatoes at you when you're next in the country. Anyway, that's it for me for this video, guys. Tell me what you think on this one. Are you as angry as me over it? Do you think their titles should be stripped? All of that money, you're talking, by the time you count up Frogmore Cottage, all of the jet travel, all of the security, everything. I mean, they've got to be getting close to seriously like 50, 60 million pounds, and no doubt still increasing. We haven't even had the proper tax figures in from this year, plus they are still, I am convinced, having some form of British security out there with them in LA. Does that not infuriate anyone else like it does me? Oh, let you see my little stress veins coming up. I better get off the video now, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, bye.
If you like my video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, angry typists, you will be blocked, so save your fingers the time. If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.